It's late in the evening.
Behind the guitar god's smile was a pain few understood. At 79, Eric Clapton holds secrets that could break your heart. 3 moments changed everything. A love song that made him famous, a battle that nearly killed him, and a tragedy that created his most beautiful music. But what happened next? The answer will surprise you. Eric Clapton wasn't supposed to survive the 1970s. Most guitar legends burn bright and fade fast. But Eric, he turned his darkest moments into light for millions. You know his hits: Layla, Tears in Heaven, Wonderful Tonight. But you don't know the stories behind them. Stories of forbidden love, life-threatening dependency, and unimaginable loss. Born in 1945, Eric grew up believing his grandmother was his mother. His real mom? She was actually his sister. Early confusion that would shape a lifetime of searching. By the 1960s, graffiti appeared around London calling him a guitar god. But gods aren't supposed to feel pain. 3 turning points defined Eric's journey. First, writing the greatest love song ever about someone he couldn't have. Second, a chemical dependency that should have ended everything. Third, a loss so devastating it created his most healing music. Each story connects to the next. Each pain became purpose. And at 79, he's still teaching us something profound about survival. But first, let's talk about obsession. Eric Clapton was desperately in love with his best friend's wife. Pattie Boyd, blonde, beautiful, and completely off-limits. She was married to George Harrison of the Beatles. Eric's friend, his collaborator, the one person he couldn't betray. Eric found his answer in a 12th century Persian poem called Layla and Majnun, a tragic tale of impossible love that drove a man to madness. The poet Nizami wrote about Layla, a woman so beautiful, so unreachable, that loving her became both salvation and destruction. Eric saw himself in Majnun, the lover who went crazy with desire. Which song takes you back to your biggest heartbreak? Tell us in the comments. So he wrote Layla. But here's what most people don't know. Eric didn't write it alone. Duane Allman, the slide guitar genius, was there. Together they created something neither could have achieved separately. Listen to that opening riff. That's pure longing, turned into music. 7 minutes of Eric pouring his heart out about a woman he couldn't touch, couldn't kiss, couldn't even tell how he felt. The piano coda, that wasn't even supposed to happen. They just kept playing, kept feeling, kept pushing the music, until it became bigger than both of them. Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs, the album that proved heartbreak could create masterpieces. Critics called it Eric's greatest work. Musicians still study those guitar techniques today. The Tedeschi Trucks Band released an album in 2022, still drawing inspiration from Layla. That's the power of real emotion in music. It echoes across generations. But success came with a price. The more famous Layla became, the more impossible his situation got. Everyone knew who the song was about. George knew, Pattie knew, the whole world knew. And Eric, he was trapped in his own creation, famous for loving someone he couldn't have. That's when the chemicals started calling. By 1971, Eric Clapton was disappearing. Not metaphorically, literally. He'd lock himself away for days, sometimes weeks, missing recording sessions, canceling concerts, worrying everyone who cared about him. The reason? A white powder that promised to numb the pain, but delivered something far worse. Cocaine, then heroin. What started as escape became a prison that lasted nearly 20 years. Pete Townshend of The Who staged an intervention. Eric's own band begged him to get help. Nothing worked. There was one night. Doctors later said it was a serious health crisis. His condition was critical. They weren't sure he'd make it through. But he did make it through. And when he woke up, something had changed. The guitar god was about to become something else entirely. A voice for redemption. But the path back wasn't what anyone expected. Eric Clapton walked into a studio clean for the first time in years. His guitarist George Terry suggested they listen to some Bob Marley. One song caught Eric's attention. "I Shot the Sheriff." Eric listened once, then again, then said, "We're covering this. Now think about this." A British blues guitarist covering reggae from Jamaica in 1974. That was revolutionary. Nobody was doing cross-cultural covers like this. But Eric wasn't just anybody. He took Marley's powerful protest song and added his signature guitar magic. The result, pure innovation. "I Shot the Sheriff" hit #1 on Billboard. Eric's first solo #1. Bob Marley's first song to reach mainstream America. Two cultures meeting through music. Two artists, one black, one white, connected by respect and rhythm. Marley later said, "Eric's version opened doors that had been locked for years. Suddenly, reggae wasn't foreign anymore. It was just good music." But for Eric, this was bigger than a hit song. It was proof he could create beauty while sober, that his best music didn't require chemicals. The album 46A1 Ocean Boulevard became his comeback statement. Critics called it his most focused work since Layla. Fans heard something new, hope mixed with the blue. Eric had found his redemption arc through respecting Marley's art, respecting his own sobriety, respecting the music itself. But staying clean, that was a daily battle. Recovery isn't a straight line. Eric learned this the hard way. The first attempt at treatment in 1974 failed within months. The cravings were too strong, the habits too deep. But something was different this time. Pete Townshend didn't give up. Neither did Eric's new girlfriend, later wife Patty Boyd. Yes, the same Patty from Layla. Sometimes life writes the most unexpected endings. 1987, the breakthrough year. Eric entered treatment again, this time with electroshock therapy. Sounds intense, but it worked. "I thought I was going to lose everything if I didn't stop," Eric later said. "Then I realized I was going to lose everything if I didn't stop." The difference? This time he had a bigger purpose than just saving himself. 1998, Eric opened Crossroads Center in Antigua, a treatment facility for addiction, funded by his own concerts and donations. In his own words, "I went through the challenge of addiction, so maybe I could help someone else avoid it." Thousands of people have found sobriety there. Thousands of families reunite, thousands of second chances given. Have you or someone you know found strength through music during tough times? Share below. Eric didn't just get clean, he became a lifeline for others drowning in the same waters. His cover of Cocaine, originally by J.J. Cale, took on new meaning. What started as a song about using became a warning about losing. But recovery brought clarity, and clarity brought the hardest test of his life. March 20, 1991. Eric was getting ready for a routine day in New York. His 4-year-old son Conor was visiting. They'd planned to go to the zoo, maybe catch a movie. Just father and son time. Conor was staying with his mother in a 53rd floor apartment, high up. Amazing views. The kind of place that makes you feel on top of the world. Eric left to run an errand. "I'll be back soon," he told Conor. "Then we'll have our adventure." Those were the last words Eric would ever say to his son. A window, a tragic accident, 4 years old, the guitar god, the man who'd survived addiction, heartbreak and fame, was broken in a way he'd never experienced. How do you make sense of losing a child? He later asked in interviews, how do you find meaning in meaningless tragedy? For months, Eric couldn't touch a guitar. Music felt trivial. Everything felt trivial. Friends worried he would relapse. The pain was deeper than any chemical could reach, deeper than any treatment could heal. But slowly, very slowly, the music came back. Not as escape this time, as conversation. A conversation with Conor. Eric later said the hardest part wasn't the grief itself. It was the silence, the absence of Conor's laugh, the toys left untouched, the zoo trips that would never happen. Music became his way of staying connected, of honoring a love that death couldn't touch. The addiction battle was won. Eric had been sober for 4 years. He'd found love, purpose, a second chance at everything. Crossroads Center was helping hundreds of people, His music was reaching new generations. The man who once nearly lost everything to chemicals was now saving lives through sobriety. But grief was a different challenge entirely. You can't detox from loss. You can't treat the absence of someone you love more than life itself. Friends worried Eric would withdraw completely. The pain was too deep, too raw, too permanent. Instead, he did something nobody expected. Tears in Heaven. 3 words that changed everything. Eric didn't plan to write about Conor. The grief was too private, too sacred. But the music kept coming anyway. Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Simple words, universal pain. Every parent's worst fear transformed into every parent's deepest hope. The song wasn't just about loss. It was about reunion, about a father's promise that love doesn't end with death. Would you hold my hand if I saw you in heaven? Eric imagined that moment, imagined Conor running to him, laughing, ready for that zoo trip they never took. The song did something remarkable. It gave people permission to grieve publicly, to miss someone out loud, to hope for something beyond goodbye. 1992 MTV Unplugged. Eric performed Tears in Heaven live for the first time. Grown men cried. The audience was silent, except for tears. 3 Grammy Awards followed. Best Male Pop Vocal, Song of the Year, Record of the Year. But the real victory? Letters. Thousands of them. Parents who'd lost children. Children who'd lost parents. People finding comfort in Eric's willingness to share his deepest pain. Your song saved my life. I thought I was alone until I heard this. Thank you for showing us how to hope again. Eric had accidentally created something bigger than music. He'd created a bridge between the living and the lost. But here's what happened next. At 79, Eric still performs Tears in Heaven. Still gets emotional. Still believes he'll see Conor again. And people still find healing in those words. New parents, new losses, new hope. The song that came from Eric's deepest pain became the world's most tender reminder. Love doesn't end. It just changes form. 3 generations now know this song. Grandparents who remember the original broadcast, parents who discovered it during their own losses, children learning guitar who play it as their first ballad. What song has helped you through your darkest moment? We'd love to hear your story in the comment. Today, Eric Clapton is 80 years old. He still tours, though his voice is thinner. Still plays guitar like the master he's always been, despite neuropathy in his hands. His latest project, To Save a Child, an album benefiting children in Gaza, because the man who lost a child refuses to let other children suffer in silence. From Layla to Tears in Heaven, Eric's journey shows us something profound. Music can transform pain into purpose. Have you ever found beauty in heartbreak? Ever discovered strength you didn't know you had? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else. And if Eric's journey moved you, hit that subscribe button. Next week we're exploring Johnny Cash's final years, another legend who turned darkness into light through music. Have you ever found comfort in a song during your hardest moments? Share your experience below. Remember, behind every song is a soul, and sometimes the most challenging moments create the most beautiful music. Until next time, keep listening, keep feeling, keep believing music can heal.